So Joe, appreciate you taking some time to be with me today. How you doing?
I am doing great. Great to see you on the screen.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know who you are, would you do us a favor? Introduce yourself, tell us what you do, then we'll talk for a bit.
Yeah. So I am a husband and father of three teenagers, and have the fun pleasure of being a pastor of a church in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And it's the church that Scott and I met at and get to hang out with and work together, serve together over a lot of years. So yeah, get to pastor people, whatever that means.
Absolutely. So I want to first start with a question that I love hearing everybody answer, which is, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for sun. It's sunny out and it's been kind of miserable weather here in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I'm really grateful for the sun, the simple things, right?
Mhm.
Um, we've had a lot of bad weather. And so it's just so interesting how the weather can change.
Mhm.
And just when the weather changes, I immediately get discouraged or depressed. It's fun to be able to go, okay, it's a beautiful day out. I think I can make it. So simple things,
Yeah.
weather, and grateful for technology probably more than ever. I'm not the super tech guy, but man, I wouldn't be able to survive right now with technology. So I am thankful for the technology we have that we can stay connected with each
Yeah, it's funny because all the people that scrutinize technology this and technology this, and now it's the only thing that they have, and it's and now all the people that have spent a lot of time on it and know it really well have a little bit of an advantage.
other. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So in ministry, there's pastors that hate technology and think that there's no way technology and social media and online church, and now they're convinced that it's amazing. What would we do without
Yeah,
it? So
exactly.
it's super fun to be a part of a church. Like our church is really tech focused, and so it's really I'm really grateful for our production staff. Really grateful for the people that make the technology happen behind the scenes, so that numbskulls like me can continue to try to communicate and connect with people over technology.
It's interesting because churches are one side of obviously a bunch of people that are uniquely challenged in this whole thing. But I always think about it even from the business standpoint, and then also even from a church standpoint. How do you go back to the way things were after all this, or do you see things and realize, man, what should we keep doing that's actually, because there are a lot of churches, our church, we've obviously been streaming for a while, so that's not a new thing, but the idea of obviously online only is new. But there's some churches that never have done it before at all. There
Hmm.
are some companies that have never done meetings via Zoom or some sort of other thing, and now they're forced to do it. And it'll be interesting to see how it changes, like the whole concept of how people do business and churches do
Hmm.
church, right?
Yeah, we're seeing it with our staff. I mean, we've had to send our whole staff home, and so people are using a lot more of the online conference call software, and people are liking it. And I do think that in a positive way, it's going to give us another tool in our toolbox. That if you're willing as a leader to adapt, and almost if you don't adapt, you're going to die.
Mhm.
But if you're willing to adapt, the things you can learn and experience and benefit from, I think we're going to emerge from this stronger and have learned some new tools in our toolbox to be able to lead people and communicate and connect in better ways. So
Now, I know you're obviously a person that is energized by people and you love people, you love talking to people. How has this been affecting you or challenging you, being kind of not around people as much as you're used to?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I said to my wife last night, I'm like, I just been on a computer screen all day and it's driving me crazy. Like, yes, there's something incredible. I'd rather, if I'm going to be in a meeting, I'd rather be on a screen with you, talking to you, seeing your face because I'm hyper relational. But it's so two dimensional,
Yeah.
and you still miss that third dimension of physical connection. And it's so, yeah, it's hard. I feel tired in a different kind of way because I'm like living in 2D world when I'm used to being in 3D, and it just, I don't know, I think it sucks. So
Yeah, some people are just really used to, they're used to being in front of a screen. They're used to not having to interact with people in certain jobs as much. And then there are other people that, working
yeah,
alongside of you for a couple of years, like you love being up and down the hall and just talking to people and just
saying
being
hi.
energy.
Yeah.
it is
Yep. And
about
it's hard.
the same
It's
thing.
super interesting when I do see people. So you're kind of, I'm from North Jersey and I'm Italian. And it's like, even when you are close to people, it's like, I got to stay back. I'm the guy that's going to wrap up and give somebody a big hug or high five. And now I'm like, I kind of move towards it and I'm like, I can't do that.
Don't
So,
you feel like it's going to take a while to even when they open up the doors of businesses and the economy again? I feel like we're going to be in this weird feeling for a lot longer. Do you? Like, don't you feel
well,
like we're
people
kind of
are,
always going to be
yeah,
like, dude, can I still get it? Even though it's
yeah,
not like, it's just,
seriously. Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how long it takes.
For people to high five and hand. I know, and I think of teenagers who are like super tech, and I have teenage sons, and they're like on their devices all the time. I think they're going to get to a point where they realize through this, like the technology is great, but they still need to have physical contact. I think with teenagers is going to like go the they're going to they're going to be groping each other like crazy. I'm like, oh gosh, when this gets done, or teenagers just going to be like college students, just it's going to be a fondle fest. They're going to be touching each other way too
Definitely
much.
going to be interesting for sure. So let's talk a little bit about leading through crisis. Obviously, being a part of your staff for a while, I know just what a great leader you are with people, but I know that this is a whole different challenge of, at least I've found so far, just of leadership through this, right? Of like this, you're trying to stay positive, but you don't really know what to really think
Mm-hmm.
when things are going to end, and there's no end date. It's tricky. Like, what does good leadership to you look like in crisis, like from people you've seen, or how you're trying to handle things, leadership?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these are the things where you, as a leader, either you rise or you fall. I mean, there's really no middle ground in this kind of environment. And you look across the horizon, across leadership in business and government and nonprofits, even in families, homes, if you don't lean into leading through this, there's no neutral. So you're either leading through this and kind of forging a path forward, or you're falling behind and getting knocked down, and it's going to damage you and your whatever you're trying to lead. So I think if as a parent you don't lead through this and chart a course as a family, we're going to decide today to be better at the other end of this. We're not going to go backwards, we're not going to be worse. What does that look like? Okay, now as an organization, how do we do that? We're going to be better for this, not worse. So how do we forge ahead and seize opportunities? So I've been thinking a lot about that. Like, you have to put it in gear and decide on a daily basis you're going to get up and you're going to move forward, because if you don't, you're going to get knocked back and it's not an option. So that, and I also been thinking a lot about how it's been exposing vulnerabilities.
Hmm.
So whenever you face hardship, you're vulnerable. There's something that's going to happen that's going to show you and expose vulnerabilities in yourself, show you vulnerabilities in your marriage, show you vulnerabilities in your business, where you have the choice to look at those vulnerabilities and look away and say, I didn't see that, or look at it and do something about it. And sometimes when we're faced with difficulty and we see it exposes fear or exposes anxiety, or at an organizational level, it exposes something we've not dealt with or something we haven't been willing to solve or put energy in. For churches, never putting energy into online. Now they're vulnerable, so they have to do it. Okay, you could lean into that and figure it out and make it happen as a church, or you could back away and go, well, I guess we're not going to have online church. It's like, no, see that vulnerability and lean into it. Don't lean away and think it's going to go away.
Yeah, it's a great point. And
So I find myself pretty vulnerable in a lot of areas, and it's kind of, you feel weak, and like you go, okay, if I feel weak and vulnerable, I can't let that keep me from leaning in and trying to fix, solve, do something different in order to survive.
mhm. Now, how do you lead effectively when you don't necessarily have an answer? Like part of obviously the difficulty is that nobody really knows when this ends. It's like, it's one thing if you're, in in even a recession of as a business going into one or going out of one, you kind of know like the chart says it's roughly going to do this, whatever. You at least have
Yeah.
some sort of goal or vision. And this kind of thing is like, it's so uncertain and it came out of nowhere that like nobody had any sort of preparation. Then now it's like you're trying to just come up with answers, which sometimes you don't have, but yet
Hmm.
people are going to you as a leader for answers.
Hmm.
Like, what are we going to do?
Yes, I know. I mean, I have a household of family that are looking at me that way, and certainly in our congregation, on our staff. And it's like, okay, we have a responsibility, I think, to be authentic. And when we don't have answers, we don't have to pull something out of our
Hmm.
butts.
Hmm.
We just have to, okay, do what we have. Like, okay, I don't have an answer for that, but I'm going to find it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to help. The other thing, I just, in dealing with anything that's hard, I found that when I'm not sure and when I'm confused and when I have doubts and when I don't know what to do, I spend less time thinking about what I don't know
Hmm.
and more time thinking about what I do know. So I could get fixated as a leader on all the things I don't know right now with this virus, all the things I don't know about the economy, all the things I don't know about my own health, the health of our organization. Or I could spend more time going, all right, here's what I do know. I do know that I have a responsibility to the people that I serve. I do know certain things that I can do, and I'm going to lean into the things I can do. I'm going to lean into the things I do know and try to maximize those things rather than wasting lots of energy on the things I don't know, because that just leaves me stuck
Hmm.
and leaves me floundering. So, all right, I know today these are the things I have to do. These are the things I can do. These are some things I might be able to do. But all the things I'm not sure, I'm going to tell people I'm not sure about that, but here's what I do know. I know I can do this and we can accomplish this and we're able to do this today. Can I help you with that? Can I serve you that way? Can I bring value to you that way? And that usually gets me through a given day when I have more things I don't know, if I lean on the things I do
Yeah, because especially with times like these, there's nothing that any one of us can do that changes the situation it's in. Like nothing. Like it's just it is what it is, and we're all just kind of holding our breath and seeing how long it lasts. So I think that that's super important for leaders to just really think about only trying to control what you even have possible control over, which ultimately
know.
we don't really have control over anyway. And so it's just like, but I think this is, I know in my own life, like this has definitely been a time where it's, it's exposed to me just the reality of like the importance of obviously, you know, relying on God during these difficult times as well.
Hmm.
Because it's like the reality is we've never had control, but when things are good, and especially in the economy and business, when they've been good for 11, 12 years, it's I think we've gotten so used to everything being so good that I think that people in this world, and especially myself, can become very self-reliant just
Hmm.
on like, hey, this is, you know, everything's real good. And then something gets like this that gets pulled out right from under everybody, and then suddenly you're like, whoa, okay. I really am
Yeah.
not in control like I acted like I've been the last couple of couple of
Yeah.
years.
Again, exposing a vulnerability where
Mhm.
you feel like you're in control, but actually you're not.
Mhm.
And you have a choice in that moment to lean into that and learn in
Mhm.
this season and situation. Okay, what can I control? What can I control? I'm going to focus on what I can. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to go to God and bring all the things I can't control to Him and say, you're the one that has unlimited power and knowledge. Help me because I need you.
Yep. So what are some there's always great stories that come out of things, and there's great things that you see and you hear and you read about, and obviously the news doesn't do a great job showing the great things,
Mhm.
but I've realized without question as I've had more and more of these conversations how many cool stories are coming out of some of these things as well. Is there anything that comes to mind that you recently heard that you feel like is just something cool in this?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of people in these kinds of situations that are looking for answers and looking for hope. And when everything's going great and the economy's good and health is good and advancements are happening, people don't think they have any vulnerabilities and they have struggles. Or if they do, they don't want to admit it. So I think one of the things I see in this for people is it does give a reality check, and there's reality is a good thing.
Hmm.
So sometimes we want to live in virtual reality, this made up world, instead of living in what's real. So I think that being confronted with our real fears, confronted with the reality of what is important and what's not important is a gift. So I think one of the things I'm seeing is interacting with people who are having those sort of wake up moments where they're realizing, wow, I put all my trust in my job,
Hmm.
and whoa, my job is gone. What do I do? Or questions about God. I mean, a lot of people think about God, but kind of put it off to the side. It's like, well, what about thinking about Him now? And we're seeing lots of people who are just hungry to know something about God, not about religion, but just who is God? Okay, like great opportunities to learn. Really fun things like we're trying to interact with some of the people in our congregation that are in the vulnerable categories and elderly, and just been on the phone with a bunch of older individuals who I probably wouldn't have opportunities to talk to, and just to hear some of their stories about how they've gotten through hard times in the past. Talk to this 97-year-old World War II, you know, veteran, 97 years old, living by himself, and he looks at me and he goes, you'll get through this. And it's like, he's like, my, he says to me, I can't believe this. He goes,
Oh,
my dad buried his first wife in the 1918 Spanish flu. And, he made it through that, and we made it through World War II, and we're going to make it through this one as well. So don't, do what they're telling you to do, but don't overthink it. Keep going. It's like I'm walking along and just talking to this 97-year-old dude. That's great. Interesting to hear older people say they've never seen anything like this before.
hmm.
So when you're in your 70s, 80s, or 90s and are like, we've never seen anything like this before, that's sobering to me, but I'm really glad to hear that from them and go, okay, this is new territory for
Yeah.
everybody on planet Earth. I guess it's okay for me to be a little anxious.
Yeah. The really
So,
interesting thing that my someone brought up in one of our conversations is just how unique it is that for the first time in history, like this is on the radar of every single place in the
mm,
world. Like there's so many times that the U.S. has things going on, or
mm,
different parts of the world have different things going on. This is on every single person's radar. Like obviously
yep,
less than others now, and some are getting in better things, but it's just there's never I don't think there's ever been a time like that. Obviously, like
yeah,
9/11 happened, and a lot of worldwide attention was around that kind of thing. But this is just so uniquely different.
mm,
Just
yeah. And you've got to know there's good things that are going to come out of this, and you just
mhm.
you just go, okay, as a leader, help me to have eyes to see the good things, to take hope and courage from the good things that are happening, and look for really cool stories because they're there if you look.
Mhm. Can you think back to a time in your short life so far as such a young guy?
I'm not young.
Can you think back to a time that obviously there's no time quite like this, but there are times you look back in your life that you were going through something that you were kind of like, man, this is just I don't know how this is going to turn out, and it just seemed like a really really hard situation. But looking back now, you realize like you wouldn't necessarily be where you're at in one way or another.
Mhm. Yeah, just a couple. I've had some medical challenges with myself and my wife. We went through a period where it was like 4 or 5 years and multiple surgeries and in and out of the hospital and trying to raise a young family and trying to keep the job and trying to bring all that together as you go through surgeries and questions and doctors and crisis. And I mean, and you go through, there's days like you just go through and you go, how am I even going to make it through this day, let alone this week, lying flat on my back or taking care of my spouse who's flat on her back and trying to take care of kids and work and do laundry and all this stuff. And you realize very quickly through those seasons, I think, that I can live today. I have enough for today, because the moment I start zooming out and thinking about tomorrow or next week or next month, I get lost. And the way we view God is, I like to describe it as He direct deposits into our account today what I need.
Mhm.
He gives me enough in my account today for whatever I'm going to face. So I'm going to face hardship with my kid. I'm going to face difficulty at work today. There's, okay, son, God, I want to give you exactly what you need for the challenges you're going to face today. And the moment I start looking down the road and going, am I going to have enough for tomorrow? Is the moment I get turned around and upside down. So just as you navigate this epidemic and difficulty in any life, look for the direct deposit of God's goodness, grace, light in your life for today, not tomorrow, because tomorrow may never come, but today there's enough. So that's been helpful to me. And I think when we went through some economic problems in the past as a leader, we had to do some really significant course corrections. And it was really hard to look at laying off staff, to look at how are we going to pay the bills as an organization. And really, what we wound up as a church family actually getting better, stronger, and creating new systems, better financial accountability, better communication tools. I think we became more efficient, and God used that really difficult time of financial problems to reorg our financial staff, all that kind of stuff that made us super strong. And we've been able to grow, I think, in huge ways because we went through that difficulty where we had to reorg, recalibrate, reinvent how we were doing staffing and finances in order to accommodate growth that was to come that we couldn't even have anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
So as a leader right now in whatever organization you're in, lean into it, learn what you can, because you don't know what's going to come and you want to be positioned for whatever comes, hopefully to be able to scale and grow again.
Yep. That's good stuff. Well, you answered most of the questions I was going to get to, all in that great answer, right? Wrapped it together. So that's a really, really good way to end. So I appreciate you taking some time, and we're all in this together, and we'll continue to be.
We are. Thanks for what you guys do, and thanks for all the people out there that are listening. Whatever role you have in this world, we are going to get through this together for sure and be better on every end. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.